It's Wednesday. Let's paint some wine. Hi, my name is Candace, aka Picasso Baby, and today I'm going to be showing you how to paint some wine. So, Paint Party has a really popular paint kit called Pour It Up, and you can see the original painting right over here. So I'm going to be showing you how to recreate this painting right at home. But before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so that you don't miss the next tutorial. And also, down in the comments, let me know some different things you all would like to paint. So let's go over our materials that you'll need for this painting. You want to make sure that you have your paint of choice. I'm going to be using acrylic paints, and I use the colors blue, white, yellow, black, brown, and red. You're going to also want to make sure you have some different size acrylic brushes. You want some napkins to dry those brushes off on, and then you also want a water cup for cool water to wash your brushes out in. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and start with one of my bigger flat brushes to get my background filled in. And I want to focus on the lightest part of my background, which is the center, so my wine glass. And what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown paint and create a circle around my glass. And then I'm going to pick up white paint and begin to paint over the glass. And as you can see, I'm not really blending back and forth. What I'm doing is flipping my brush back and forth over or sweeping it to get that texture in the background. And I'm doing this all over my inside of my circle, over my wine glass. I'm even covering up that brown line that I created. Because again, we want this to be the lightest part. So we want to get this part done with just a little bit of brown and a really good amount of white. And once you have this part of your background filled in, again, the entire circle, also kind of going over that line that we created, so the circle that we created going over that, what we're going to do is we want to start to darken up the background a bit. So now I'm going to start to paint the rest of the background by picking up brown, white, and yellow. And what I'm doing, I'm picking up yellow and white on one side and brown on the other. It really doesn't matter which combination you pick them up in or what order you pick them up in, as long as you get a little bit of each color on your brush at the same time, so that way they can blend out together. And you're still doing the same exact thing, sweeping your brush across the background until you get it completely filled in. So we're just going to work on getting this background filled in all of the way, and then we're going to add some darker colors to it as well. Now that we have the background completely filled in, I am going to go back and darken up some of the edges and the corners. So I do want to wash this out, wash my brush out, because I want to wash that white out of my brush. And what I'm going to do to darken the corners, this time I'm going to be picking up red and brown together. So I'm picking up brown on one side, red on the other. And all I'm doing, still the same motion, sweeping my brush on my canvas, but this time I'm going on the edges and near the corners. And you can do as much or as little of this as you'd like. It's completely up to you, and it doesn't have to be even all the way around. Also keep in mind, because your background is still a little wet, some of the colors might start to blend. Like, because you have white in different areas, you might start to create little hints of pink in your background, and that's completely fine. We want those different colors, but most importantly, to get that nice texture, and that kind of brush stroke, you want to make sure that you're just sweeping your brush back and forth. So I feel like I have enough of those darker edges. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually switch brushes and prepare to paint in my wine. Now, for my wine, I still want to use a flat brush. You can use a flat or a round brush, but it doesn't have to be the bigger one. It doesn't have to be the one we used for the background. So I'm going to get a little bit of a smaller brush, and I'm going to do red wine. You can do whatever color wine you like. It's completely up to you. But for red wine, I am mixing up black and a small amount of red to get a burgundy color. And what I'm painting in, I'm painting the bottom half. So you have a line inside of your wine bottle. I'm painting the bottom half of my wine bottle, and I'm painting it right down into my wine glass. So this curve that's inside of my wine glass, I'm going to be painting all of that in, getting it completely filled. So we want to make sure that we do the transition from the bottle down into the glass really nicely, so that it looks like it is pouring in, because we are painting Pour It Up. So we want to get this filled in really, really well. And if you're going for a different wine, maybe if you want to do like a Moscato, you could do like more of like red, yellow, and white. Or if you're doing a white wine, you could do yellow and white, or just yellow. It's completely up to you. But I am doing a red wine. So again, I'm mixing up red and black, and I'm painting it from the bottle into the wine glass. So remember, for the wine glass, you're only doing everything below that line. So there's a line going down the middle of the wine glass. You're only going to do everything below it. So I got that piece still there, and I also still have the top of my wine glass showing. So half of my wine bottle is full, half of my wine glass is full. Once you have finished adding in your wine, we do want to give this a little bit of time to dry, because we need to go in and add in the color of the wine bottle. So while this is drying, you can give yourself a break. If you're a little impatient or you don't want to wait for it to dry, you can always grab a blow dryer. Just make sure you dry it on cool. Or if you do want to give yourself a break, make sure you grab some wine, and then we'll start back painting this in about 10 to 15 minutes. You want to make sure you give it about 10 to 15 minutes to dry. Now that our painting is dry, our background should be pretty dry, so should the wine. What we're going to do is go back in and add in the color of the wine bottle. Now, I'm going to be doing a green wine bottle, and I'm actually going to continue using the same brush that I used for my wine. Just make sure that you wash and dry it off. And for my wine bottle, I am going to mix up blue and green on my plate. And keep in mind, as you're mixing colors, the more blue you use, the darker it will be. The more yellow you use, the lighter it will be. So the shade of green you use is completely up to you. If you want an even lighter bottle, you can even mix in a little bit of white. But I'm just going for a bit of a darker green. So I'm mixing up blue and a little bit of yellow. And once you have the shade that you want, what we want to do is we want to fill in the open part of the bottle first, and then also this top part of the bottle. So I'm going to fill in that opening, so that little half circle there. And then I am going to also fill in this white part of my bottle that is left open. Now, at this moment, it just kind of looks like we have wine right there and a color in the color of the glass wine bottle up here. So we want to make it look like the wine is actually inside of the bottle. So I'm going to actually brush some of the green on top of my wine. I'm not going to brush it completely on, like I don't want to cover all of the red. I just want to get enough of the green on there to give the illusion that the wine is inside of the bottle. So I'm going to keep using the same color, same brush. And right on top of here, I am going to just brush on bits of green. I'm going to even get a little bit of yellow on my brush. And brush on bits of yellow. And you can still see like the red in there, but it's not standing out as much, which makes it look like it's behind or inside of the bottle. And that's exactly the look that we're going for. So once you have that part done, the rest is pretty much just finishing up the last details. This is one of our super simple paintings, but it's really easy to do, but it looks really nice. Doesn't take much at all. So what we're going to do to finish this up, we're going to add some outlines and we're going to add some highlights. So I'm going to switch to a smaller round brush, so more like that size. And I'm going to get my outline in first. So my outline is just to clean things up and help it stand out more. And I am doing a black outline. So I'm outlining my bottle and my wine glass. And what I'm going to do for the opening, I'm going to start at that half circle and curve it across the wine. Because again, we want to make sure it looks like it is pouring out of the wine bottle. So you don't want to pull it, all the way there. You want to pull it across the top there. And then I'm going to outline my bottle. And these lines do not have to be perfect, but one thing you can do to give yourself more control, hold it a little closer to the end of the brush here. And try to steady your hand or your pinky finger on the canvas. And it just gives you a little bit more control. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the wine glass. So I'm starting right here next to the wine glass. But I'm going to pull this line, the line that's kind of curving up. I'm going to pull this line over my wine so that it looks like the wine is going in the glass. And then I'm going to outline the bottom of my glass and also the stem of my glass. Now, once you have everything outlined and it's standing out, it looks more cleaned up, you can continue using the same brush. Just make sure to wash it off. Or you can switch to a smaller flat brush. That's what I'm doing. I'm switching to a smaller flat brush and I want to add in those highlights. So I'm adding in highlights like inside of my wine, on my glass, also on my bottle, just to give it like a glare. Because again, these are glass, so we want to make it a little more realistic by giving it that glare. So for example, I'm going to take a little bit of white and just pull it across my wine. And wherever you add the highlights at, make sure you're following the shape or of wherever you're adding it. So for example, I'm going to put a little bit inside of the stem of my glass. I'm going to add one right here on the side of my glass, and I'm following the shape of it. Same thing up here on the bottle. I'm following the shape of my bottle here as well, and up there. And again, you can do as many or as few highlights as you'd like. It's completely up to you. Once you have your highlights in, your outline in, the very last thing you want to do to make this painting yours is simply sign your name. Once you sign your name, your masterpiece is completely finished. I think that this painting is great for decorating your home. It looks really, really nice in kitchens. Where you choose to hang it is your choice. You just want to make sure that it's completely dry before you hang it up. If you would like to follow along to this tutorial, you can find this painting kit at paintpartydet.com, or you can get all of the supplies on your own at any arts and crafts store. So thank you so much for painting with me, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.